welcome to Build Series Sydney. I'm Kate Peck, and on the couch today we have Grammy award-winning electronic Canadian duo. Big round of applause for Tom and Jimmy from Bob Moses. Boys, welcome. You literally just got off the plane.
We did.
Thanks for having us.
And then you came here and you needed a shower, and that was a disaster.
It actually wasn't a disaster. Like I would say we were sitting at about like $500,000, and now after a shower and a coffee, we feel like a full $1,000,000. But there was a lack of towels.
Yeah, paper towel. I never knew paper towel was so absorbent.
Yeah.
So they had to shower with paper towel. I mean, they had to dry off with paper towels, basically, because we couldn't find them a towel, which is quite hilarious.
They're not lying in those commercials. Those things really work.
Guys, welcome back to Australia. It's really cool to have you here because it's not your first rodeo. You've been here before. Why do you keep coming back?
Because it's awesome.
Yes.
It's summer when it's winter where we're from. So, I mean,
I mean, Canada might be just winter all the time. There's a debate to be had there. But, like, I mean, Canadians and Australians were very similar, Commonwealth countries. But the weather's just a bit nicer here. And I don't know, there's just a great vibe. Like, you guys have a ton of great bands. And I don't know, we feel very at home here.
And so you've got a lot. I mean, you must have had some good memories here then so far.
I mean, I think Tom's got a pretty good one.
Yeah, my wife's from here.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Is she still here? Did you leave her here? Is that why you keep coming back?
She's here at the moment, but yeah, we live in LA, but she's here a lot of the time. The first time we ever came here, she was running the artists division of the festival we played, and I was like, that one's good.
Yeah, I'll take you back to Canada.
Exactly.
And so, I mean, obviously you've worked with Rufus and Hayden James, so you must have quite a few buddies here.
We do. We have a lot of good Australian buddies, and we get to travel all over the world and hang out with those guys everywhere, and it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just did a couple big shows with Rufus, two in Red Rocks and one in LA, and that was super fun. They're awesome dudes. Yeah. And one of the first times we ever came to Australia was opening for them here a few years ago. How many years ago? 3?
3 years ago, yeah. And then so we've just kind of followed each other around ever since. And Tyrone once surprised us in Brisbane, dressed as me. We kind of look similar already.
They do look exactly the
and
same.
he there was a while where I was wearing this cap, and he just came fully dressed, and our whole crew and everyone thought he was me, and he was standing with Tom, and it was hilarious. And those guys are awesome.
So there's pranks that go on.
I mean, we got to come up with better ones. I think they're kind of beating us on the prank department, but
yeah. Well, I would say if you pit an Aussie against a Canadian, the Aussie's going to win with the pranks every time.
Probably.
Yeah, we got that reputation in Canada.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, we just get out of control.
No, it's great.
And so you guys tour. You tour so much. You always seem like you're touring. Why are you always touring? Do you get burnt out? Do you feed off the crowd? Do you listen to the other artists and get your inspiration? Is that where you kind of fuel up?
I would say all of the above. I mean, I think we don't get burned out. We're pretty good on the road, and we're really good friends. And I think there's a lot of respect between the two of us. I think was it Chris Martin or someone that said respect the chemistry. It's we're really good friends, and I think being on the road has even made that friendship even better. And so we just have a lot of fun, and it's really fun being on the road, playing shows, seeing people react to songs that you've written. I don't think that'll ever get boring for us. And so keeping playing shows and keeping writing music and keeping the thing going, it just feels natural to us.
Yeah, and I feel like when we're working on music, we've always been our music's always been very forged sort of in the fire of live events. We started playing warehouse raves in Brooklyn, and it was all about the party and the event. So I feel like even when we go away to make a record, we still want to keep that sort of finger on the pulse. So it's kind of hard to stop touring, in a weird way. I love being home. Of the two of us, I'd say I'm more of the homebody, but still after a while, you just kind of get antsy at home,
Yeah, you need to move.
It's it's nice to be always moving and having sort of, because as a creative person, you spend so much of your life, for us anyways, you're a kid and you're dreaming about it, and it's just you're going about your normal life, and then some stuff starts to happen, and then it kind of stops, and then so to have it finally real stuff be able to happen and be oh, I have somewhere to go and people to see and stuff around music. It feels like there's always that little hint in the back of your mind of is this going to end tomorrow? I don't know. So we just kind of we always just say yes.
Yeah, it's your purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you get fulfilled from it.
Totally.
And you've got 3 dates here.
We do.
Yeah. and you haven't actually done any because you literally just arrived here. What do you kind of expect from your Australian shows? Do people get loose? Are they really welcoming? Are they staunch?
I mean, I know this sounds completely crazy because we've been coming here since like our first time was New Year's 2014 into 15. These are our first headline shows like as a band. Like we've either come here down for festivals like Laneway or playing with Rufus, or like we've only ever done festivals. So it's really nice to come down here and sort of do what we've done in the rest of the world with the band and sort of have a longer time to play our songs and do all this. But like every time we've come down here, like even from day one when Tom first met his wife and stuff, the shows have just been a blast. Like people just go crazy.
Yeah, people are like really get amongst it, to use a
Yeah.
Australian phrase.
Yes.
Like people are rowdy.
And we've like run the gambit from like, I think proper bush duffs, like out in the middle of nowhere to like really fancy things. It's like we've kind of done it all. It's been awesome.
Like how rowdy? Like what do we do? Do we jump up on stage?
What are those sacks of wine?
Goon sack.
bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been. The only time I've ever been hit with one of those from the crowd was in Australia. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that says it all. I
I
think.
think that's a compliment.
It was like he was helping me out sort of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
You know? It was like
He's just sorting you out for later.
And I have personally done a shoey. Like I remember somebody told me about it, and I was like, "What?
Yeah,
You
I can't
pour
believe you did that.
alcohol in your boot and then you drink it?" And then I was like, "So you mean like this?" And I just took my shoe off and did it, and now I felt like that was like a an Australian moment for
milestone.
me.
yeah,
milestone.
you've been initiated.
Yeah.
You've been shoeyed. And gooned. What a combo. You've really just experienced the height of Australia right there.
The thing one of the things I love about Australia is like there's always a new saying to be learned. I mean, I've been married with my wife since 2015, and I feel like every month she still says something. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What does that
Come
mean?
again?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Like in Vancouver where we grew up, like it's basically sort of Canada's like surfer culture town. So we almost sound like Ninja Turtle sometimes. So there's a lot of like slang where we come from. So we're super obsessed with other countries or other languages like slang. And so like Australia has so much good stuff. Like for sure they've got us beat by like a landslide.
Landslide.
Yeah.
What do you have like a favorite Australian saying?
I like get amongst it a lot.
Get amongst it. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah.
There's man, there's one. It'll come to me like halfway through this interview, but there's a couple really good ones that are like I've had to have them explained to me because I'm like people just say it. I'm like, wait, what? I'll tap someone, dude. What does this mean?
Nah. Do you get that?
Yeah,
Nah.
Someone had to break that down for
nah.
me. Like, dude's like, nah. It's like I can't keep up. I'm like, are you enjoying this right now? Are you having a good time? Like. The positive and the negative, that's not really working for me. Just like,
It's fully confusing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, nah. Yeah, nah. Yeah. Nah.
That's good. Yeah, bush stuff's pretty up there.
Yeah, that explains. I'm like, what? I was like, what does that mean? It's like it goes duff in the bush. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. It's just
Logical,
sort of,
right?
sign me up. Yeah.
Rainbow
They're all
serpent
surprisingly
for you
logical.
next.
Yeah, that's what we got to do.
Yeah,
I've heard
Rainbow
that's
Serpent.
a wild time.
Yeah, that is wild.
Yeah.
We're doing strawberry fields in outside Melbourne. Is that like a bush?
Yeah,
duff?
that'll be great.
Is that a
I
bush
haven't been
duff though?
before. I don't know if that's bush doof. It's not as grimy as Rainbow Serpent.
What are the criteria to qualify as a bush duff?
I think it needs to be fully bush, and there needs to be lots of doof.
And some psytrance in there, probably.
Yeah, there needs to be some psytrance, and you need to be able to party. I think the 24-hour kind of cycle. Yeah, and you won't shower for. I guess that's a lot of festivals, though.
Yeah.
I got some records in the old that I can dust off and bring out. I think I
bit of vinyl,
I got some psytrance in there.
And so, talk me through your songs and your working together, the creative process. How does it kind of start, or is it always just evolving?
It starts with some gem of an idea, like a little bit. So that could be like a loop that one of us has made in a computer, or like just a melody idea or a chord progression or something. And then usually at some point that we're excited about it, we will play it for the other person or like sing it to the other person or whatever. And then we just kind of, if the other person gets excited, we just kind of build from there. And like we hop on and off, like building the drum loops, and we write the lyrics. It's kind of like we just do everything together, like we write the lyrics together at the end, and we sort of just build progressively on that idea until it feels good.
Writing lyrics is really hard. So like basically we have to convince ourselves that whatever we've done in the melody and the groove and stuff is worth going through the painful process of writing lyrics. Because that's where you have to sort of dig deep to say something meaningful. And we always try to write something that has affected us, because it's hard to fake it, write about stuff that doesn't actually matter to you. So that's a very important part of the process for us. And it's like, after you get that initial idea out, that spark that he was talking about, you start to put on like the self-editing hat. And I think that's like, we're really good at doing that together and like self-editing each other. Like Tom might think that something I've done that I'm like, oh, this is not that good. He'll be like, actually, this is really good. We should work on this, and like vice versa. So
yeah, and I think like if we're lucky, we'll get like a bit of lyric with the idea, with whatever melody idea we get, because that means it's going to be easier than if we don't get that. Like we might get like a line like. A lot of the time what we do is we put up the mic and I'll just go blabber stuff to try and get things, and then I'll be like, oh, this is good, or Jimmy will say that's good, and one of us will hear something. Either I'll say something that's quite obvious and we'll be like, what does that mean? Or Jimmy will say like, oh, it sounds like you said this, and I'll be like, oh, that's cool, and then we can kind of build the lyrical content around that phrase, and then it's just about like painfully digging. Sometimes they come easy and sometimes it takes ages. Like on one song on this record, we rewrote like 7 times to get the lyrics right.
So it can be months.
Yeah, it can be
or
like
it could
2
be
days.
a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Or it could be, like the lyrics could all come super easy. Like Tearing Me Up, our single off our last record, that probably came in like 3 days.
Yeah.
All told, but then and other songs can come in a day, and you know what I mean? And it's, you also like, you work on songs and then you might put it away for a while and then come back to it and stuff, so.
How do you know when to stop adding to it? Because your songs have so many layers and they're so complex as well. When is enough? Do you play it to somebody else, or do you two just
You kind of know.
You just kind of feel it.
Yeah. I think that's the good thing about having a partner, is that like maybe if you're alone tinkering away, you can drive yourself mad thinking it's never done. But having each other to kind of be like that self-editing thing, like, no, it's really good, It just makes it easier, and also bouncing ideas off each other. It's like, it just feels great, Yeah,
and sometimes you have to, like sometimes we'll add too much and then we'll be like, actually it was better before, It's just sort of a feeling thing that you have to cultivate, I think. It's like gaining experience in anything, like you just kind of have to feel it out.
Sleeping on it helps too. Like you can do something, think it's amazing, come back the next day and be like, oh man, we messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, a big thing we've tried to we try to challenge ourselves is just to like let an idea be what it's going to be, like try not to overthink it. When you get that moment of inspiration, usually that's pretty good, and you should just kind of like get out of the way and like let it come out and then think about it later. You can do a lot of damage to good ideas by thinking about them too much.
Yeah. And so how are your sessions? How are they built? Are they in the wee hours of the morning? Are you smoking lots of pot? Like how does it kind of happen?
I mean, we've always worked on music sober. Like it's just like I don't know. I've heard so many people say they've never done good work. Like you can't. I mean, I don't know how you could. At least we can't.
We've done work sober and not sober, and everything good we've ever done was when we were doing it sober. Like you might think you're getting great work done, and then you come back the next day and you're like, wow, this is really
you have
bad.
a couple drinks. This is the best song we've ever made ever. And then it's like, but no, I mean it's usually it's like there's a lot of thought and effort and sort of like, for lack of a better word, like a lot of love put into the stuff. And so I feel like it really demands your utmost focus and attention, because it's delicate work, sometimes.
Sometimes, like, the only times we ever do crazy shifts, like, Jimmy will do a 12-hour shift doing one thing, and then I'll come in the next, like, in the day and do 12-hour shift, as if we're trying to hit a deadline, like doing all technical stuff, like bouncing out stems, but that's not really creative, But when you're being creative, we kind of like, we usually start working around noon or something, and then we'll kind of like just work until 8 or 9, and then if we're really on it, we'll keep going into the night. But usually we do that.
Nice and civilized.
Yeah, and then we'll get ideas like at night. Like if we go home or whatever, we might both have little ideas that we'll work on, and then like before bed or like wake up in the middle of the night. A lot of times I wake up in the middle of the night and have an idea,
Yeah.
sing it in my phone, and then like the next day we'll talk about it and stuff.
The wife's like, shut up!
Yeah, exactly.
Try to sleep!
Exactly.
And Battle Lines, I mean, is such an epic album. You must have been so happy to kind of get that out and have it be taken by so many amazing DJs and producers just to remix it as well. Did you expect it to go as far as it has?
I mean, in terms of like we come from dance music culture, so for us to sort of like get our friends to remix it and help sort of push it in that land as well, that felt like a supernatural step for us. But it's really nice to see certain remixes, that have gone and done great things, or certain tracks off the album that have gone and like we recently got one of the sort of more beat cuts off the record in like a Netflix show, and now people are finding it there, and sort of it's starting to get it's interesting. Like once you release music, you really have no control of what happens with it. It sort of stops becoming yours and becomes part of the belongs to the public, for lack of a better phrase. But it's really nice to sort of see songs take on lives of their own, and then it also helps us sort of dictate what we'll play live and see what works. So it's just part of the whole thing.
Yeah, and a really interesting. We did a lot more push towards like our band show on this record. I feel like we made our last record playing raves and nightclubs, just the two of us, and that really dictated. And then that took us onto festival stages and more venues, and we started doing more playing with other musicians, and so that really influenced the sound of this record. And I think then to have people like, to go and play with a band on big stages and stuff, but then also have people like Hayden James and Jamie Jones do the remixes that they did, which like are staples of our club set, because we still do, club sets where we're basically DJing and singing our own records. To be able to do those versions and have that sort of reimagined that way was super awesome.
Also, Cassian, who's an Australian as well, he did a really great remix for us.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He did a killer remix.
Yeah.
Now we've got some Q&A questions too. Who's your favourite Aussie musician?
I'm going to have to go, for me personally, it might be NXS. Kix is one of my favorite. So,
Yes.
so that Michael Hutchins, I guess, would be the short answer to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would go with that, or if the more contemporary of all the contemporary people, probably Tame Impala.
Yeah, it's so good. How did you guys meet, and did it take a while before you started working together, or was it pretty instant?
Great question. We met in elementary school. We weren't super close, and then it wasn't until we had graduated from high school, had both moved to Brooklyn separately, ran into each other in a parking lot by happenstance, that we decided to start the band. So we've known each other for a long time, but then, went on this long, winding road to get to where we are now.
It's such an amazing story, but did it take long for you to kind of get the music and the chemistry flowing?
No, that was instant.
Yeah. Basically, it was like, hey, let's have dinner, and then the next thing we booked was a studio session like that weekend or something, and then the first session was like, whoa, let's just do this, whatever this is.
That's just so bonkers.
Yeah,
it's pretty nuts.
Jimmy, I read that you used to perform in a heavy metal band. What inspired you to move on to new genres?
Wow, that's a great question. Yes, I used to play drums in a heavy metal band. I still love heavy metal music, but my band members at the time weren't very reliable, and like, I found a computer in Ableton and was like, oh, they show up to practice on time and you don't have to fight with your computer and it's not going to give you shit about stuff. So I started to like the independence of making electronic music. And then at the time, electronic music actually felt like the most punk rock thing you could do, because that's where everyone was pushing the boundaries with sound and stuff like that. So deep down in my heart, I'm still that metal kid. But, I tried to go for greener pastures.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. It's so true. You said your music stops becoming yours once it's released. Has there been a time you've heard it that it was really unexpected?
The first time I ever heard us getting played on the radio in Vancouver was pretty cool. And they because in Vancouver they had a very specific radio culture. It was very sort of like alternative, and it was very powerful. It really felt like it was like the pulse of Vancouver in a weird way. And so we grew up listening to these stations and always fantasizing about being played on the radio. And we were back in Vancouver in February one year working on our Central mix for the BBC, and we got I turned on the radio, like driving my parents' car, you know, like I used to, and they came on and did this whole blurb about like who we were, and like, and it was right after a Pearl Jam song, so super unexpected, and so that was like pretty amazing to have that whole experience. It felt like when you're growing up wanting to be a musician, you kind of always feel like it's like this out of reach thing, and like you'll never be good enough, and then to have it like to be listening to the station you've always listened to, and then Pearl Jam's playing, and then like they come on, they're talking about your band. It's pretty like, oh, we're a real band.
We've made it.
Yeah.
We're a real band.
So that was pretty cool.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the Grammys? How important is critical acclaim to your music?
I mean, I think it's like sort of a double-edged sword, right? It's like, you know, everyone has an opinion and is a critic, and so like, why are some things more valid than others? I think we were just really honored to be sort of nominated by our peers, because it's a music industry peer-based thing, and it was totally unexpected for us to get be nominated for 2 Grammys, and so we were just thrilled in that sense. And then actually going to the show, it's an amazing production. Like, I think we highly underestimated how awesome the show was. Like, we've seen tons of concerts, and then you're in the Staples Center, and every act that's playing, like, it was like they had Daft Punk, The Weeknd, Ed Sheeran, Katy Perry, and each act brought like a stadium level, backdrop and performance, and how they were able to seamlessly interchange between all of those. And so during what would be the commercial breaks for the audience, you're in the arena watching it happen, and it's just this amazing dance of like people changing the sets, and things are done flawlessly. It's probably one of the best shows.
It was pretty impressive.
We'll ever see. Yeah,
it was cool. Like, the whole red carpet thing is sort of fun. It's like
overwhelming.
Not really. I mean, it was. I think like our attitude towards it is it's nice. It's not. It's like if we're making a difference in people's lives with our music, and people are coming to our shows, and we're having that interaction, and the Grammys never even knew we existed, we'd be really happy. But it's nice it's awesome to be honored by the Grammys. But if we had lots of Grammys and like the Grammys loved us, but like we weren't making a difference in people's lives, like we'd be miserable, So it's like icing on the cake. It's like a nice accolade to get, and like a nice sort of tip of the hat, so to speak.
Cherry.
Yeah. But we're the thing that really matters to us is like making music that is from our hearts, and like connecting with other people on a really real level. And like the most awesome ways that those are sort of like shown to you are like at shows, and if people write you messages saying like your music did this and this for my life, like those are the things that make it feel real. And so everything else is sort of like is fun, but it's like a cherry on top,
Tom, are you wearing Santa socks?
I'm wearing lumberjack socks because
Canadian lumberjacks.
I'm Canadian.
Oh, Canadian lumberjacks.
Yeah. So even when you come down under, you got to bring a taste of home.
Yeah. I figured, like need a little splash of color in this black outfit.
Yeah,
why
not?
We actually have a thing where like when we go on tour, our tour manager loves buying everybody socks, and so these were bought for me out on one of the last tours, just to remind me of where I come from.
That's really cute. Well, guys, enjoy your time here. Enjoy your 3 shows. It's been awesome to have you on Build. Big round of applause for Bob
Thank you,
Moses.
guys.